Greetings, Disney fans. Welcome to another episode. Here today we are talking about Disneyland Forward, and we are specifically looking at potential things for California Adventure. This is going to be the second part in this series. I'm going to try my best to get the whole series out before my next Disney trip, which is coming up in about a month now. So cross fingers for me. I'm hoping I got the time, but we'll see how this goes. So as I mentioned, today we are going to specifically be looking at California Adventure, and some potential things that I was thinking about for that park and how it can line up. Most likely the very first thing we are going to see coming is the Eastern Gateway parking structure and new transportation hub. At least that's my prediction, is that will be the very next thing to open. Now, the first area I want to take a look at is this area of Hollywoodland where Monsters Inc., the empty former Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the current location for PhilharMagic. There's a lot of vacancy in this area. Now, this piece of land that I'm looking at is where a lot of people think that Avatar might be going in the Disneyland Resort. And I did mention in the last video that I felt this area was too small, and here's why. In Florida, Pandora, the world of Avatar, is 12 acres. And that holds a massive show building, which features 2 attractions, as well as the floating mountains and the restaurant, etc., etc. This plot of land, even with expanding out into the current shuttle drop-off zone, now this acreage is looking at keeping the Hyperion, because from what we've heard in the past, it sounded like Disney was very dead set on keeping the Hyperion because of their 2 theaters on property. This one would make more sense to hold a film premiere at, or any kind of event where they want like Hollywood to attend, because it's an indoor theater, it's got the marquee, it's a better vibe than going over to Fantasyland. Now, when you look at this diagram of where I'm looking at, I didn't fill in all of the empty space from the shuttle drop-off because I would assume that they would still want to have some of that be for backstage and have a buffer between the actual walkway and the park. Just like how we would have on the Tomorrowland side. You're not going to want to literally have the main entrance walkway from the Eastern Gateway and you're literally walking on the just feet from the backside of a show building. You're going to want a buffer. So that's why I'm leaving a buffer zone. But as we look at this plot of land is only 6.83 acres. So that's one of the reasons that I didn't think Avatar would go in this plot of land. It's just not big enough to deliver on the promise of being as awe-inspiring as Avatar is in Florida. And I'll admit, walking through Pandora, it's quite breathtaking. I wasn't a huge fan of the ride, but walking through the area was gorgeous, and I wouldn't want to see us get a Avatar light version here in the Disneyland Resort. I would much rather see a proper full-sized expansion. So there's basically 2 options three options. You could either come up with something completely different entirely for this area, not have it be the Hollywood Pictures backlot Hollywoodland area, and do something totally different, but still keeping it somehow California. Or you could really lean into the Hollywood, or you could just expend Avengers all the way down. And really, actually, when you look at this area, partnered with the current Avengers campus footprint, which is including the area for the e-ticket expansion pad, 9.25 acres. Well, 9.25 acres plus the 6.8 acres from here, now we're really talking about a real proper full-size land, and that's not even counting if you were to include like the animation building and any of those things, which I would fully say are on the table if you're going to be doing Avengers all the way here. And I think you can keep the Hyperion Theater, either have Rogers the Musical just as a permanent show in there, or maybe a new Avengers stunt show, and you can use theatrical wizardry to have characters like Iron Man or Scarlet Witch or Doctor Strange, anyone who has visual powers that are hard to do in a simple stunt show out at the facade for the e-ticket. I think that could be something quite impressive in there. I think you've got some options, and I would keep the Hyperion no matter what version of doing here. Another thing you could do is, in a way, the Avengers campus is kind of inspired by a like IT campus. You could expand on that idea and not necessarily do Avengers, and you could put Tron there. One of my friends was asking me to actually look up, well, what would the Tron footprint be? How big is it? Well, from what I can tell, the show building and the canopy take up approximately 4.68 acres. So you could theoretically use this area for the Tron coaster. However, that's going to be about the only thing you're going to fit here. Not positive if I want that to be the case. I'd rather see maybe 2 or 3 attractions in this plot of land rather than only 1, maybe 2. So that's why I'm hesitant to say Tron over here. I kind of think find a way to do Tron in Tomorrowland, but again, I'm just not positive. But let's talk about some potential ideas for if we were to expand Avengers Campus out. And I will go more into detail on my overall thoughts on Avengers Campus and the how the entertainment works in there, and the characters and the overall vibe and my personal feelings on the land. I'll go over that in more detail after I get to actually see it in person for the first time. I can only judge so much from a computer screen. I haven't gotten to see it since it opened. We are just under a month away from that being my first time there, and I can't wait. Honestly, I think I'm more excited about Avengers Campus and Galaxy's Edge. Did I just say that? So, I want to first look at some potential ideas with Doctor Strange. So, we have right now that little magic show with Doctor Strange, and it's in the ruins of a sanctum. Mystic Manor from Hong Kong meets Doctor Strange. Okay, now the obvious question would be, well, wait, but where would that go? I would put that in the animation building. I would use the side of that building that faces the Hyperion as the facade to look like Doctor Strange's sanctum. because it doesn't necessarily have to be the New York Sanctum. It could be any of the sanctums. So obviously the one in LA would make sense here. And I would put that entrance on the Hyperion side, and then you can do like other cityscape paintings on the wall or the exterior of the building that faces the current Avengers campus, so that it isn't just a large building. There's no big building here. It's a skyline. How would I set this up? Well, for one, that building is in fact big enough to fit something like a Mystic Manor inside. You'd have to gut it, but you could fit a Mystic Manor inside. And what I was originally thinking when this idea first was kind of populating online was, oh, okay, it's the Sanctum. Doctor Strange is opening up the Sanctum to give tours to us normies. But he is off on important duties, so he has left the tour guide, he's left a tour guide for us. And at the time, I was thinking Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, because at the time, Multiverse of Madness hadn't come out yet, and it would make a lot of sense for Scarlet Witch to be studying with Doctor Strange. There's a lot of precedent for that from the comics, so I was like, ooh, this would be great. And imagine, it'd be fairly easy to imagine this, because we could see it. Wanda's starting to give you a tour, and just like the monkey in Mystic Manor, she accidentally sets something loose that then makes the whole home run amok, and you start seeing all these different effects everywhere, and she needs to get Doctor Strange back in the building to help set things right. She's going to do her best to control it, but she's not going to be strong enough, and then finally, before the climax of the ride, Doctor Strange will come in through a portal, and he will help contain the situation. Now, after seeing Multiverse of Madness, I don't know if I would still have that be Scarlet Witch, or you could potentially do that with America Chavez. She is now a Young Avenger character. Not officially a Young Avenger yet, but for those of you who watched the Marvels, it seems pretty obvious that they're about to do Young Avengers, and America Chavez is from that story. You could have her be Doctor Strange's pupil, who is showing you around the manor, and again, all of a sudden she accidentally sets something loose that is gonna then make the whole house run amok, and then you'll get Doctor Strange back in, you'll get cameos from Wong, and you can have all sorts of various characters from Doctor Strange cameo in this ride, but it would be mostly the spooky vibe. I think that would be a perfect blending of existing ride concept with a film IP, or in this case a comic IP as well. I think that would be an absolutely brilliant blend. And then another thing that I would like to point out here is that we have a few stories that it's kind of baffling that they didn't already do this in the park, to be perfectly honest. The first one that I'm going to point out, because this is absolutely baffling, is Black Panther. And now we got the stage, or the stunt show that Black Panther is a part of, and at one point it was hinted that the e-ticket would take place in Wakanda. I'm not 100% positive if that is still the plan. However, the first movie perfectly teed us up for an experience in the theme parks, and especially at Disneyland. Let's take a look.
When you said you would take me to California for the first time, I thought you meant Coachella or Disneyland. Why here?
This will be the first Wakandan International Outreach Center. Nakia will oversee the social outreach. You will spearhead the science and information exchange.
Okay, so they clearly teed us up for having the first, or well, a Wakandan International Outreach Center right here at Avengers Campus in Disneyland. What I'm picturing is kind of like a Star Tours type attraction, but probably with only one film rather than Star Tours with its, variables. And you would enter the attraction queue. The exterior would look, it would say, Wakandan International Outreach Center. And when you walk in, you will be greeted by holograms of various characters from Black Panther to give you a bit of a cultural lesson and also explain what you're about to experience. So, the first character I was thinking was that you would have Nakia appear to tell you about the history of Wakanda and its culture, and then you would go further in and you would get a appearance from Shuri, who would be explaining the tech of what you're about to experience, because they also set up the tech in the movie as well. They set up the whole remote piloting of a vehicle. So all we'd have to do is basically we would be Everett Ross.
Remote piloting system activated.
Oh my God.
I made it American style for you. Get in. Go! We can't let those weapons get beyond Wakanda.
All right, I'm on it.
And we would be flying in a vehicle that is being remote piloted so that we can feel like we are flying through Wakanda and seeing the whole area. And the last character I was thinking, well, there's two potential characters, but I think the one that would make the most sense would be Okoye as the Royal Guard, the Dora Milaje, and she would be giving you the safety information about seat belts and how the all of that sort of stuff would work on this particular attraction. I'm telling you, they set us up for this so perfectly in the film. I'm genuinely shocked that they haven't actually done something with this in the park yet. To me, this seems like a no-brainer. I would absolutely do it. Then the next thing that I was thinking about was, well, for one, if we're going to have the Sanctum tour attraction, we no longer need that little magic show area to be for Doctor Strange. They could turn that into a generic mixed-use type thing, where as the new movies and shows are coming out, they could do new temporary entertainment inspired by those. So like when the Marvels came out, you could have had something featuring Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Photon. When Deadpool and Wolverine comes out, assuming we'll get Deadpool in the park. I don't know if Disney will actually go that far. I hope they do, but I don't know if they will. If they do, you could have a Deadpool and Wolverine thing over there. When the next Captain America film comes out, you could have a thing with him. When Thunderbolts comes out, you could have some of the characters from that doing a little show over there, etc. I would absolutely use that space as a mixed use, do it for various things. And then the other attraction I was kind of picturing was for Shang-Chi. This would actually kind of serve two purposes as far as one, from what I remember, Shang-Chi had a stellar opening weekend, given the variables of it was still during the pandemic, not everybody was vaccinated yet, not everybody was comfortable going to theaters yet, and it was a pretty decent box office return given those factors. But also, Shang-Chi, the character, lives in California. So, out of all of the Avengers characters that have been in this area so far, he's one of the few that really should have a permanent presence because he's based in California. And what I was thinking was you could also tie in the fact that California has a significant cultural impact from Chinese people from history. The some of that history is a little not great, but that doesn't change the fact that there's a significant cultural impact on California. And you could pay homage to that with a character like Shang-Chi, serving both as an Avengers attraction and something to pay homage to China and its cultural impact on California, historically speaking. And you could have the attraction, what I was thinking was maybe a coaster or some sort of a thing where it would feel like you were riding on the Protector and going through Talo. Can you imagine feeling like you're just riding on the back of a large dragon and you're seeing a fight unfold around you? It'd be so fun. I would have a lot of fun with that. And then one of the things I was kind of thinking of for an expanded Avengers campus going into this area was maybe a new hotel. And what would I use as a new hotel that could have a park entrance? None other than the Avengers Tower. And for two reasons. Number one, in the MCU, the Avengers Tower, as it existed, has been sold, so there's no reason that Tony Stark wouldn't have maybe created a new one at one of the Avengers campuses around the world. And number two, it would have to be a forced perspective height, but you'd be able to do this in a way that when you are standing in Tomorrowland and you can look out towards here, that building still feels kind of futuristic just in the way it's designed. So it wouldn't be too out of the ordinary to see it from Tomorrowland. And then it would tie into Avengers Campus. And one of the things, honestly, even if we don't get a full-on hotel, one of the things that I really feel is lacking in that area, and this isn't going to change after I go visit it, I'm going to feel this is lacking no matter what until it happens. I really want to see a character dining restaurant in this section of the park featuring Avengers characters. I don't know for sure which character you would have it be primarily themed to. We got a lot to choose from, but one of my favorite things over the years has been to go and do character breakfasts. And I remember previous trips where I went to at least 2, if not 3 character meals during a trip. And I would really love to see at least one new character restaurant in California Adventure, and it could serve a purpose similar to what the Plaza Inn with Minnie does, where you'd be able to book it and you'd be able to get there maybe an hour before the park opens, depending on the day. And it would be just a nice way to start your day seeing some characters. I would really love to see that. And you've got enough acreage within the Hollywood area before you even expand out to do the attractions I've listed and a restaurant. I think this would be a win, especially personally. I would want it to be a full service, not a buffet. My favorite of the character restaurants in previous trips was Ariel's Grotto, partly because of the character selection, and partly because of the fact that that restaurant wasn't a buffet. It was just a full service breakfast, and that hilariously actually made it slightly more affordable than the buffets. I would love to see something like that with Avengers. I'm not 100% positive which character I'm looking at. In case you're wondering, I'm looking at where most of my Avengers figures are. You could maybe have it be Thor themed, or maybe it's a new venture by Aunt May, or there's a number of potential options, but I would absolutely love a character breakfast with the Avengers characters, and you could have a rotating cast of characters as new movies come out. You could have, one of the guaranteed characters you'll see would be from the next or from the most recent movie. So like this summer when Deadpool and Wolverine comes out, you'd see Wolverine in there. When the next Captain America comes out, you would definitely see him. When Thunderbolts comes out, you would see Yelena and Bucky. It'd be so fun. I would absolutely love this. Now, another thing that I was thinking, at least as far as size, would easily fit in this potential expansion zone is Zootopia from Shanghai. Now, I don't necessarily think that I want an exact clone of the attraction. I don't know how a U.S. California audience would react to going through a queue where you're going through the cell block and seeing the animals in the cages. I'm not sure how that would go over, but I think in general Zootopia would work really well in DCA. This is one of the spots that it could go. And I was quite shocked by this. I didn't realize that the new Zootopia land in Shanghai was only about 5 acres. You could easily fit that in this section. Because what I hadn't realized was that the city of Zootopia, that cityscape, is just the facade for the ride. I hadn't realized that. I thought there was going to be more to it than that, but that's about it. So that's definitely an option of something that they could do there. Now, the other area that you could do, and either way, I think you have a new permanent meet and greet location for Nick and Judy based on this. But, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a perfect idea in this particular section of the park. But let's look at the Simba parking lot. That is rather large. You're looking at about 26 acres or so that would be opened up by a Disneyland Forward approval from the city. Now, we don't know for sure that that's going to happen. That vote is going to be probably in a little over a month now. I believe they've said May. What I don't know is if it's going to be the first or the second meeting of the month. there's actually a good chance that while I am in Disneyland, we get the announcement on how that vote goes, depending on which meeting it's at. But 26 acres in the symbol lot, that would give us a lot of room to work with for potential things for California Adventure. And you would easily be able to fit Zootopia over there. Now, in case you're wondering why I think Zootopia in this particular park and not, say, in the third gate, to me, watching Zootopia, I see it as like an allegory for like LA and race relations. If Elemental is to New York and Ellis Island and immigrants, and then Zootopia is to LA and race relations. So I think you could make Zootopia work in California Adventure without completely breaking the theme. Make it be a Zootopia take on LA. I think it could work. Then the other things I was thinking for the symbol lot would be... I have pages of notes here. Again, I want to expand upon other cultures who have had major impacts on California's history. So the first area I was thinking of, and where I would put this would be like the very first thing you get to after you are exiting from the pier and heading over to where the symbol lot is now. Have it be a... I wouldn't call it a Mexico pavilion like in Epcot, but that kind of an area where I would put a permanent dark ride for Coco. Let's be real, that would be incredibly popular. I remember the first time Coco was included in the fireworks at Disneyland, and the audience went nuts. I think Coco is a perfect fit for an attraction in California Adventure. Mexican culture has had a major impact on California. I think it's an absolute no-brainer. And then in that area, I would also then have it be a new permanent home for the Plaza de la Familia, and for Miguel to do his meet and greets. And I would also move, instead of having Donald in Buena Vista Street in his current outfit, I would move him over here in his Three Caballeros outfit, and you could also have Jose and Panchito over there. That'd be pretty fun. And then I would also have a performance area over here where Viva Navidad could perform, freeing up some area in the current Paradise Gardens that could be used for something else. But I would absolutely do this area. I think it's something that is sorely missing from this park. And then next door to that, I would also have a full-on area inspired by China, like a Chinatown type area. And I think of the two, I feel that Mulan is the better fit for a ride than Turning Red. But absolutely both films should have a presence in the area. I think Mulan lends itself more to a ride myself. That could also just be because I'm a 90s kid and I grew up with the movie and I have much fonder memories of it than with Turning Red, which I've only watched like once so far. But you could have this be a new location for the Lunar New Year festivities, and some of those things could become permanent entertainment. Like, I would even maybe propose having, whatever the year of is as far as Lunar New Year, have that character that they brought out for the meet and greets over there all year, and then rotate that character each year. So like Mushu, obviously, for Year of the Dragon. You've got some options, but I would definitely have a Mulan meet and greet. I would have May in the red panda form myself. I think that is a more fun version of the character than when she's just human and being a furry. I was kind of shocked when they showed the meet and greet character for May during Lunar New Year this year. I was like, that's the route they went? They didn't go the giant fuzzy panda? Okay. Alright. I would have leaned that way. But yeah, I think that both of these, and you wouldn't need a ton of acreage. I think Zootopia plus Mexico plus China, and you're looking at maybe at most 3/5 of this expansion zone used up. And again, I wouldn't do all of this at once at all. I would absolutely do this in phases, because Disneyland Forward is a 30-year zoning plan, and what you don't want to do is build it all out immediately and then leave us in the exact same predicament we are now, where in order to get a new attraction, see Mission Breakout, see Tiana's, they have to retheme an existing attraction, see Tower of Terror, see Splash Mountain. I would much rather us be in a place where we have a bunch of expansion pads that are able to be used in the future when they have an idea, and not just jump the gun on everything right now. But I think building out Avengers might be the first thing I would do, but I would absolutely use these ideas over here. And then the other thing that I want to talk about is the pier itself. Personally, I feel like it's a little bit odd to see the entire pier be Pixar and not have as many characters represented as I would have thought they would, and especially now. Now, I'm going to sound a little hypocritical because I don't want everything on the pier to be changed, because The Little Mermaid is one of my favorite rides in this park, and I would be kind of devastated if they were to change it to any Pixar movie. I can't think of a single Pixar movie that I like more than The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Lion King, and Beauty and the Beast. So if we were to lose Little Mermaid in favor of I don't care which movie from Pixar, to me that would be a downgrade. I don't know if younger generations might feel differently. I don't know. But Little Mermaid is one of my favorite rides. I would hate to ever see it get rethemed. But have that be just part of the San Francisco area, and kind of truncated away from the rest of the pier. But that still leaves quite a bit to do. Now, the first thing that I would do is the Pixar Promenade. I think that, to me, this overall area feels like it's an intended potential future entrance and exit to a full-on attraction. This is conjecture. I don't know for sure if this is in the cards, but that was just what I thought when I was looking at things. I was like, oh, that would make sense. I could see them doing that. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not positive. I'm not 100% sold on the idea, but I could see it. And then I was looking at the map and trying to figure out, alright, well, what's what? Well, looking at this overhead view, I highlighted all of the large buildings in the area. Now, the blue one, from what I heard in the past, was the parade warehouse, and it also houses the control booth for World of Color. It's possible that I misheard that, but from what I remember, that building is the parade warehouse for California Adventure. So that is where the new Pixar parade will be stored. That is where the Halloween parade comes in and out of during Oogie Boogie Bash. The red, from what I can tell, is the show building for Midway Mania. But I don't know what the green, the yellow, or the lavender highlighted buildings are. I suspect there's some sort of backstage thing. What I don't know is if there's something that could theoretically be moved off-site. We've seen them do it before. When they went to build Galaxy's Edge, they moved some stuff off-site to make room. So if whatever is there is something that could be moved, I could see them doing that. Use the Pixar Promenade to be the entrance point. And here's a nice large plot for a new dark ride. I'm not 100% positive which movie I would go with. Part of me wants to say that if we're getting rid of Monsters Inc. in the Hollywood section, to do a more impressive Monsters Inc. ride over here. Something that isn't just a reskinned superstar limo, you know, that worst ride in California Adventure's history attraction. I would maybe do Monsters Inc. over here. I would consider a ride for Finding Nemo. If we're gonna gut the animation building, I would like to see something for Nemo in this area. And especially if the subs end up going away from Disneyland, I do want Nemo to have more of a presence in the pier at that point. For now, I don't know that we need a Nemo presence because there's already the subs and Turtle Talk, and Turtle Talk would be a pretty easy thing to move if they really wanted to. But Monsters Inc., Nemo, or the other one I was kind of thinking was maybe Elemental. I think that offers a unique enough visual experience that you could do something with it. And then I was also thinking, in playing homage to Paradise Pier 1.0, retheme the swings to A Bug's Life. Does anyone remember what they were originally? It was a giant orange peel, and it was the orange stinger. I would lean towards maybe doing a Bug's Life theme on that, just to kind of pay homage to its original form. But if you have a better idea of a Pixar movie that would fit the swings, please let me know. I was having a tough time coming up with something for that. Sky School, I was thinking either Luca with the race around the town there, or Onward. I think both movies would present interesting options for that ride system. Golden Zephyr, I think the most natural thing to do with that would be to make it be up. And then for the Jumpin' Jellyfish, the easiest thing would be to just paint the jellyfish that pink color from Nemo and just have it be Nemo. And then maybe there's a spot over in that area where they could put Turtle Talk with Crush, and then you don't have to do Nemo for a full-on ride, and you could instead do either Monsters Inc. or Elemental over there. But that's kind of what I was thinking for the pier. Now, as far as what order would I do any of this? Well, as I've said, I don't want to use all of these expansion pads right away. I want them to take their time so that there's always able to be something new being added over the next 30 years. So, of the areas we've talked about so far, Eastern Gateway first, While that is under construction, the Avengers e-ticket, from what I've been hearing some chatter about, it sounds like that ride is closer to breaking ground than we all thought online. It does sound like that one's getting pretty close from what I've heard recently from sources I trust. And granted, this is very much not, we don't know for sure, but it wouldn't shock me if the next attraction to open at Disneyland Resort after Tiana's is the Avengers e-ticket. I think at D23 this summer they're going to be announcing you can look forward to riding this e-ticket in, X number of years. Personally, I would try to time that to be somewhere around the time the next Avengers film comes out, if possible, or in between the next two. I would want to see them try to do that so that they can capitalize on the Avengers film when it comes out. I think that would be smarter, which is how they did Mission Breakout and how they did Cosmic Rewind. And I could see it. Obviously they might not do that, but I could see it. But I think Eastern Gateway is going to be the first big, not currently announced thing that they're going to announce at D23. I think they're going to say, we're about to break ground on the Avengers e-ticket, if they haven't already by then. And then the next thing I would probably do would be to, after Eastern Gateway opens and you've got that new parking structure, close the Toy Story lot, start developing that into a third park. That's where I would put Avatar, as I mentioned in the previous video, as well as a few other things. By doing it in a third park, you don't have to worry about breaking California Adventure's theme. You don't have to worry about how is it going to fit in the park. It's an area that, if we're going to have to be waiting until it's 2024 now, realistically, we're probably not going to see an Avatar, like a full-on Avatar land. I'd be shocked if we get it before 2030, honestly. Just knowing how long it took from when they announced the partnership with James Cameron in 2011 to when it finally opened in 2017, I would anticipate we're quite a number of years out. And if they want to use that section of Hollywood, again, they're going to need Eastern Gateway open before they can do that. So that's why I think put it in a third park. Then once you open that third park, it can alleviate some pressure. That's when I would do anything that you want to do with Tomorrowland and Hollywood, because it won't be as big of an impact to the overall resort if you lose Tomorrowland for a few years and if you lose Hollywood for a little bit. That would be how I would structure that. And then I would cycle between various expansion pads across all three parks. But I would have, personally, I would lean towards the Symbol lot and the Stitch lot for Disneyland being the last two areas to be developed. Because again, you want to keep your powder dry and save those for when you absolutely, Imagineering's got this fantastic idea. This movie is incredibly popular. Let's do it. We've got the land for it. Let's do it. We don't have to close anything. That's how I would handle that. Again, 30-year plans on everything with Disneyland Forward, so it could be quite a while before some of this stuff gets used. But these are some of my ideas for California Adventure. Stay tuned to this channel for my thoughts on Disneyland Park and Disneyland Forward, as well as overall resort transportation. That will be an interesting one. Those will be coming soon. I don't know exactly when, but soon. And also, after my trip, stay tuned for a Avengers Campus deep dive and everything that can go along with that. And yeah, I'm optimistic about Disneyland Forward getting approval by the city, which would mean that we could actually have a big D23 with lots of announcements for Disneyland Resort. But we'll have to see. Alright, let me know what you thought of any of these ideas in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit that like. Don't forget to subscribe. You can find me on all social media at Wraith Kelso. And thank you for watching.